Any questions?
What kind of service plan does this come with?
Unlimited.
Can I keep my same phone number?
Absolutely.
How do I change the ringtone?
Just hook it up to your computer.
Does it have a camera? What's the warranty? Does it come in silver? Can I put my party shuffle on this? Does it have a 3.5 millimeter headset jack? You sell a lot of these?
It's the one I carry.
You ever get those phantom vibrations in your pocket?
Any questions?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Ask questions. For the 10 questions everyone should know, go to ahrq.gov.
Welcome to this edition of Life's Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. Thanks for tuning in today. My special guest from Developmental Disabilities, Sara Fries.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Getting all acclimated to everything, and
Yeah, I'm trying to.
that's good. I'm glad you're here. I mean, we see each other once in a while out finding jobs for people, but I'm just thrilled that you're here today to talk about Job Fusion and a couple other things that are going on. Let's talk a little bit about Sara first. What brought you to DD?
Great question. My brother attends the Opportunity Center that the Fairfield County Board of DD has over on Coon Path, and he's been there for a little bit now. So for me, this is an opportunity for me to be able to be part of a team that works with employment for folks who have disabilities, but also to kind of bring my passion into it. I've always been a doting big sister to my brother, and so being able to help other people who have disabilities kind of find their path in life is really exciting.
And you have an employment background. I mean, you've worked with staffing agencies. Talk a little bit about that.
I do. I started with a large company in Columbus, actually in their human resources and recruiting department, and had a really great time there. I worked there for about 5 years, and then I moved over to a staffing service in Columbus and got to work with a lot of different organizations and a lot of different people to be able to help them find employment, everything from entry-level call center to warehouse and logistics, some executive positions and things like that. It was really interesting to be able to see that side of it. I really enjoyed being able to go out into the community and meet with businesses and get to know them a little bit, as well as getting to know my applicants and watch them through that process.
Now, your dad also works there, Ray Schmidt.
He does.
Was it difficult? I mean, thinking, I got to go work with my dad. I mean,
well, the funny thing is, I've actually worked with him before. So in a previous company he worked with, I worked there during the summer, and we worked together really well. It's something where I can bounce ideas off of him if I need to, but it's always really interesting to get a perspective, since he's in another department, to see some things that are going to be coming down the line. Right. He's always really in tune, and he's got a very big background in business and sales, so being able to talk to him about strategies is always fun. But yeah, being on not only in the same company organization, but also being on the same floor and as him in the building, it's always entertaining.
Absolutely. Now, just talk a little bit about your job duties, what you're actually doing, what you're trying to. I know you work with Doug Mitchell, who's the director of Job Fusion. Just talk a little bit about what encompasses what you do all day.
Sure. I do a number of different things. The big focus is for me to be able to go out into the community and meet with businesses, both large and small operations, to see if they have any needs for hiring people in general. The other part of my job that I love is that I get to go and interact with individuals who are really excited about getting out to work. Being able to help somebody kind of find that path is always a really interesting process, because you start to see some self-confidence building and learning things that they didn't think that they'd learn. And so it's really interesting to be able to go and talk with them and go down that journey with them as they're getting to know companies and the process.
Now, are there your clientele that you deal with? They're different ages, but talk a little bit about some of the jobs that they like to do or they want to do. I know we just met. We meet once a month with a group of people and talk about. But talk a little bit about the type of jobs that that you're looking for with employers.
Sure. A lot of our folks are looking for entry level. So, positions where they may be kind of behind the scenes, getting things ready, folding clothes, general warehouse and light industrial jobs. I have got one guy who he loves to be able to interact with people and talk on the phones, and he's done a great job.
That.
Yeah, I don't know anybody else, Mike, who loves to talk to people. But he loves to do that, just having that interaction and that camaraderie. So there's a lot of different skills that people have. We've got folks that have worked at jobs for 20 years, have had jobs for 6 years, and some folks who are just getting to learn the process. And what I love about what Job Fusion does with Fairfield County Board of DD is that we allow them to have that growth and to have that process to learn. When I started my career, I started in collections, which is not the right field for me at all. But I didn't get to learn anything about it until I actually went and did the job.
Right.
And so for some of these folks, they get to go in and shadow someone doing the job. We talk about it with them and say, is this something you want to do? And they get to make that decision on, yeah, I think so, or I'd really like to kind of stay away from that. So we really try to help them figure out what their own, personal, decision is in that. And so it's really neat to be able to see them kind of process through that. But they're really looking for more of the entry level and, if there's options for them to cross-train in other areas, that's always a good thing too. They're looking for hours that are anywhere from maybe 5, 6, 7 hours a week up to 40. So, we've got a number of folks who are looking really for just that part-time, but we do have some people that are looking for the full-time as well.
Now, when you talk with employers, I know some of the questions, will somebody be with them when they come to a position? Is there a job coach, transportation, things like that? Talk a little bit about just the dynamics of getting to work.
So it's a really involved process.
That's why I asked you to do it.
Absolutely. I think that you kind of know a little bit of it. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes of helping someone to get employment. We have to make sure that they do have reliable transportation. Working in my last job with a staffing service, that was one of the big ones. We always ran into issues with people not having a ride, not being able to figure out how to get to work.
But in general, though, I think in the world I live in, too, that's for everybody.
Absolutely.
The bus line only goes so far, only operates certain hours, or I can't get it. So I think transportation in general that shouldn't be a barrier to hire people from DD.
Correct. And the great thing about this is that we don't typically have those issues with transportation because we have other resources. So we operate with LPT quite a bit. We also have a number of really strong family supports for our individuals who are more than willing to drive them to and from. Some of our folks have their license. The other piece of it is that there are a number of agencies around town that are more than willing to help with that individual getting to and from work in a reliable fashion, which is huge. So those are things that we kind of help them with before they actually start on day one. And it may be something where we go through and help them to figure out how many hours are you able to work. Let's try to help you build up your stamina. Some folks, they want to start off on the lower end, and then they want to work up to 20 hours. And we help to have those resources. Once we figured everything out behind the scenes, we actually get them to the business. That's when we have a job coach go with them. Our job coach trains right alongside our individual to make sure that they're understanding everything and that they're able to fulfill the job duties and they're comfortable with it. One of the great things about our job trainers is that they'll kind of stand there and they're going to watch and observe, making sure that things are correct, and then they kind of start to fade back. And that process is so important because for all of our folks, we want to make sure that this work environment for them is their new community. And so they're able to do that and able to really participate. And eventually our trainer is going to leave the premises and not go with them every day. Right. We'll just check in every once in a while because we want to make sure that everything's going okay. Sure. And for the business end, we want to make sure that they know who to contact. Just in case, you want to cross-train the person in another area, we're there to help.
So as you do that, I know you're dealing with a lot of employers now, but for those that have never heard of Job Fusion or website, phone number, should they call you if they're interested? What should they do?
Sure. I can definitely give out my information. My email address is sefries@fairfielddd.com. You can check out our website at fairfielddd.com. And you can also call us at 614-835-2738. So,
Talk a little bit about, I know we talked about 8 or 9 individuals last week that different things they want to do, and I think sometimes people don't understand the variety of what the clientele is, what they can do.
sure. For instance, I have a wonderful person who she's actually gone through some food certification courses and, was previously ServSafe certified, which is huge.
Yeah.
And, she's looking for something part-time. She's really looking to be able to use that skill set. And she's had a number of different positions. She worked in a call center. She worked over at Big Bear when it was there. And we also have other individuals who this is their first time coming out,
Right.
but they've had some opportunities to go and shadow in different jobs and see what they would like to do. One guy, he was able to go out to a couple of different businesses, and he really loves to fold clothes. That's what he'd like to do. And so there's a lot of different options.
Sure. And I think that's what people need to understand. That they may have a job that, oh, boy, that would be great for her. That individual could do that. That would be... do you sit down with each individual yourself and say, okay, this is what?
I do.
Have you ever had anybody just say, well, I want to, you want to do what?
Yep.
Have you ever just sat back and said, okay, we'll see if we can find you something?
Yep. I have someone right now who he loves to be outside, and he loves to mow, and he loves to rake leaves, and he loves to shovel driveways. I really wish he lived next to me. But, I said, okay, so it doesn't matter to you. You love rain, snow, everything. And he said, yeah.
Oh, that is neat.
And so, those are things where that may not work for me, but it works for him.
Sure.
And that's great. So that's one of the things that I love to sit down and talk with them. And we typically meet with our folks each week because we've got a smaller group that each of us work with, and find out what they want to do, talk to them about the processes. If they go into a business that maybe they don't feel is the right fit for them, what the next steps would be. The other part that we do for the employers, and this just comes from, working as a recruiter and human resources for a long time, I never put anybody in a job just to put them in a job. It's not going to do any good for the business or for the person. Yeah. For me, if I'm put into a job that I don't really like, I'm not going to work as hard. I'm not going to want to be there on a daily basis. And so we really try to match our folks with jobs that would be beneficial for them and that they really want to do.
Right. Now, do you go out ahead of time and talk with employers before the applicant, and then take the applicant with them?
Yeah, so we just try to make it a little bit easier on everybody involved. Right. So if I can go and have a meeting with the business first and just kind of find out the needs, and if there's going to be a good option for one of our folks there, then I try to have them go through that process and interview and get to meet with the employer a little bit to find out some more about it.
Now, do you talk with other counties, other agencies, and say, gee, what worked for you, what didn't work for you? Do you meet like once in a while or once a year? Or?
Well, that's a great question. I'm only 2 months into the position, so I'm getting to know some of it. But I've been really fortunate to be able to be in a county where we really take a lot of time to get the extra development and go to conferences and get some of the exposure to other counties, because everybody is different. All of the counties are different, and what their focus is right now, what their focus is going to be in the future is different. Right now, for all counties, employment is a big piece of what we're looking at. For Fairfield County, we look at it as community first. So if volunteer is important to the person, that's what we're going to look for them. If employment is important to the person, that's where Job Fusion kind of steps in. But I've had a really good option to be able to go and meet with some other job developers from other counties and kind of pick their brains a little bit and see what they're doing. And I think that we're all kind of doing the same thing, which is we want to meet with the businesses first and just have that discussion with them. And because there's a lot of questions that can come along with it when you're working with Fairfield County Board of DD. Sure. And we want to make sure that we can answer those questions. Our folks are absolutely capable to do, most any job. And again, we're not going to put somebody in a job that they're not going to be comfortable with.
Talk a little bit about Job Fusion, where it's located, how it operates. I know Doug Mitchell's in charge of it.
Yes.
But talk a little bit about Job Fusion in general.
Sure. So Job Fusion, we're actually located out of our Pickerington office. Fairfield County Board of DD has a number of locations, and we happen to be operating out of the Pickerington location. But really, most of our staff is out in the community. The majority of the day, we're working with individuals, doing the job training, or out meeting with businesses.
Right.
It really got started because we have a great need to help some of our individuals to maneuver through the job process and be able to handle the applications. Right now, a lot of companies are moving towards the assessments, which is really difficult for just about everybody to be able to take. And you sit down and the assessment can be an hour long
or 2 hours or
exactly. And so that can be really stressful for anybody. So being able to help them with that is always good. But being able to talk to the business first, sometimes we're able to help maneuver around it a little bit better.
Now, there's also an office in the mall.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because I think people walk by that sometimes and say, what is that? So.
Sure. Yeah, Discover You is such a great program. It's actually, under Job Fusion. That is an opportunity that we have. It's called a project search model, where we have people going into the mall and they're working at Discover You. They're getting classroom training, customer service skills, general etiquette, being able to go out into the mall to do internships. We've got a great partnership there with Charlie's in the mall and a great partnership with Elder Beerman. We've got a lot of folks that go over to Elder Beerman to work in Old Navy. Those are some of our really good partnerships that we have, but they're able to go over and do an internship for a few weeks, try it out, see if they like it, and then move to another internship. We have a young man who is over there, and he's actually working with the plants outside and inside the mall, and that's what he loves to do. He absolutely adores it. And that's just because we try to talk to each of our folks to say, what do you like?
Right.
What would you want to do here at the mall?
Right.
And when he said that, we hadn't really worked with them before on the landscaping aspect, but it ended up working out fairly well for him.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever do everything outside of county? I mean, do you ever send residents here to Pickaway County, or do you have an exchange program? Or?
We do. There are a couple of things that are going on. I know that we work with DSW that's in Columbus, and we've sent a small group of folks to work up in there. DSW is a very large, very large warehouse logistics center where they're able to learn a number of different pieces.
Right.
And so it's really great for them to be able to do that and see on a very large scale how that all works. We do have some other partnerships that are closer to the Fairfield County line. We really try to stay as close to home for all of our folks as we can. But we do have some other things that are in the Groveport area that we're working with. We also have a great partnership with a company out of Canal Winchester that was looking to expand, and they actually partnered with us, and we're operating with other folks who don't have disabilities in that area. And so it's a really neat way to see how they all interact.
Right.
They've got a separate lunchroom for everybody that works there in that part of the warehouse, and so everybody gets to know each other, and it's typical warehouse. They're all razzing each other like you would, and they all get to know each other.
Yeah.
So it's always very fun.
When you talk with employers for the first time, I mean, what kind of, is it like, no, we don't have, I mean, we don't have anything. I mean, I would think that when employers think that, oh yeah, we've got these jobs, is it difficult to grasp an employer and say, this is how we can benefit you?
Sometimes. It definitely can be. A lot of times employers are stuck as far as what their budget can allow. And, maybe they just haven't asked their corporate office, hey, this could be an opportunity that we could have somebody come in a couple hours a week. Is there something we could do? And so it's just kind of trying to be creative with the business. For instance, I contacted a local pizza company and I said, hey, have you ever thought about having somebody come in and just fold pizza boxes? They only want to work a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
This would be a great task for them. I'm sure that you have a need. Have you ever thought about it? And they said, no. So it's just kind of being able to have that conversation and open that dialogue with them. We're more than happy to try to figure things out with you. And the other thing that we get asked a lot is, accommodations. There are a lot of things that we can help with as far as the accommodations. But just talking with us is always a good option, so we can kind of work through that.
Now, have you talked to your brother? Do you see him during the day, or do you?
Well, my brother, so he's over at the Opportunity Center. He's actually...
You might want to explain what the Opportunity Center is.
Oh, sure.
We've mentioned it a couple times.
Sure. And I apologize because I know that they've reclassified it, but it's typically it's referred to as a day habilitation program. So my brother will go there during the day, and there's different things that he can do there. They make sure that, he gets on and off the bus okay. And, my brother's nonverbal, and so he actually, he loves his computers, and stubbornness runs in our family. So he typically will choose what he wants to do during the day, and that's about it. But, it's a really great opportunity for a lot of folks that are over there because there's just so many really neat things going on. We had a group that really wanted to learn about gardening and, how to operate all of those,
Right.
What do you do with the seeds and how do you make this happen? And so they actually have a program where there's a farmer's market throughout the summer and they sell the produce that they've, been able to do there. And so we really try to think outside the box. And it's really amazing to see some of the things that are coming out of the Opportunity Center because it's such a great staff that really focuses on the folks that are there.
Right.
There are folks that are there that are going to be wanting to work, and so we're going to be working with them soon, I'm sure. There are other folks that may not want to work right now, and that's perfectly fine.
Right.
We want to make sure that we've got a place for everybody.
Right. So if Sara Fries were not working, what would Sara be doing?
Oh, if I were not working.
Because you have a degree in, I forget what your degree is in.
I have a degree in communications.
That's right. Okay.
And
From
so,
where?
Muskingum College.
Okay.
Now Muskingum University. Actually, I started down the path of working in radio and working in TV and newspapers.
Hey, you're back in it.
Absolutely. And, I couldn't find a job. I was having a rough time,
Sure.
Because I was living in Lancaster and, at the time there weren't a lot of options. But I kind of fell into the path of human resources and recruiting and moved on from there. But yeah, in my spare time, I thankfully have moved back down to Lancaster now from Columbus. And so we love to get out into the community and just go to all the new restaurants, especially the downtown area, which is just wonderful.
Is there one special you'd like to
So-
go to more than another one, or is it just?
Oh, you're really going to put me on the spot if anybody
Sure, why
sees
not?
this.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Don't worry.
No, I mean, we try to go to a lot of our local restaurants here because there's just so many that are wonderful. We love Table One and Diamond Jim's and Ale House. And, we like to go to Art and Clay, which a lot of people don't know is actually part of Fairfield County Board of DD. They've got a wonderful coffee shop there.
Right.
But seeing all of the changes in the downtown area are just fabulous for us, especially coming from Columbus. We like to be back down here. It's a different pace. I like it.
Absolutely. So what do you do in your spare time when you're not working all the time?
Sure. Yeah, I craft a lot. I do a lot of different crafts, and I like to go out to Rising Park and being able to just revisit Lancaster and go through the different shops that we have that are local here. I'm really big into the local scene just because I think that it's so great to be able to see all of that. And all of the changes.
When you look at, you're back, you're working with this. If there's, workforce is a huge topic right now in the state of Ohio.
It is.
With all different disciplines. If you sat back and said, boy, I'd like to change this. This is something I think, I know everybody has opinions, but what would you look at and think, boy, this would be nice if we had this? Maybe like a central bus station or something like that.
Yeah, I think, having the LPT system that we have now is great. I would really love to see us having more routes for folks in Lancaster. Having that as an option is always really wonderful. One of the problems that I saw in Columbus, even though we had a great transportation system in Columbus, there were routes that would run once a day down to areas where there was a lot of employment. And so being able to see where we may be able to get more transportation focused in some of those areas would be good.
Yeah. Kerry Woody does a great job with Lancaster Transportation. Does a super job. I know you've only been in the job, just 2 months now?
2 months.
Anything surprise you that you just weren't ready for? I wasn't that. Where did that come from? I know working with Doug and Kyle and those guys, but just something like, well, I just wasn't ready for that. Just either out finding a job for somebody or just.
This is going to be a really interesting answer.
It's okay.
My last job when I worked with a staffing service, I worked with a lot of folks who they really didn't want to work, but they knew that they had to. And so, and a lot of the employers were not super friendly when the staffing service would come in.
Sure.
And I get it. But what's interesting to me is when you come down to Lancaster, it's a different pace. People are friendly. People are willing to have that conversation with you. And what I was really surprised about was just how positive that my whole experience has been so far. We've got a really phenomenal team. They're all very diverse in their backgrounds, and so it's really neat to be able to see all of that pull together. But being able to talk to all of our folks who have a number of skills that I was really surprised by, but are so willing and ready to work is just great. You know, some of the feedback we've gotten from some of the employers is that, you know, we have one individual working at a warehouse facility, and they said that they're out working the rest of the staff.
Right.
You know, they're not just meeting the standards that, you know, this company has for everybody, they're exceeding them.
That doesn't surprise me at
And
all.
so it's just wonderful to see the interaction between everyone and the positive changes that are made without even thinking about it. Because if somebody comes in and is happy in the work environment, everybody else around them is going to start to be a little bit happier each day and take joy in those little tasks.
We just have a few minutes left, but I know that just in about 30 seconds, you guys have a strong relationship with Fairfield Medical Center.
We do. Yeah, we have a very strong relationship there. We have a program that goes on there each year where individuals go through for a couple of weeks and learn different facets of the medical center itself and different jobs and see how they enjoy it. And we've had such a great success there. You know, we've had a lot of folks move on to other areas like Diley Ridge and some of their nursing home areas. And it's just really been a wonderful, you know, jump off point for them into their career.
Well, Sarah, it has been great having you here. We will have you come back on and talk a little bit more about all the things that you're doing down the road and all that. But it's been great having you here. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll get you back on.
That sounds great.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Life's Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. Remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
That's low. That's low. That's low.